So, if the Patriots pulled off the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history, you could argue the Falcons suffered the greatest collapse. You got a feel for the city of Atlanta. Matt Ryan posting this on IG. We came up short last night, and my heart hurts for you, Atlanta. Hats off to New England. They played a heck of a game. We will adapt. We will overcome. We will rise up. Jeff Saturday's still with us. You're from Atlanta. Can't wait to get your thoughts on this subject. But I want to start with you, Stephen A. Can the Falcons recover from this?
They most certainly can recover. I mean, they're helped along by the fact that we're talking about the sport of the National Football League, where parity is like their second word, for crying out loud. Every single year, a new team props up. And if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you have a top-ranked offense, a top 3-ranked passing attack. The combination of Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman can really do some things out of that backfield. That offense is not going anywhere. You also happen to have the best receiver in football, as far as I'm concerned, in Julio Jones. And so Matt Ryan is your reigning league MVP, 38 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. He was absolutely sensational this year. Came up smaller than expected, but we also have to give credit to the New England Patriots in terms of the time spent on the field, 40 minutes. They kept Matt Ryan off the field. As a matter of fact, when the Falcons had like a 28-3 lead or even 28-9, they literally had gone like an hour and 8 minutes without the ball. You know, I mean, that's how crazy it was. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's very difficult to judge Matt Ryan outside of that sack that he should not have taken, should not have put himself in a position to take it. It's pretty hard to judge Matt Ryan and the offense too critically. And then when you look at that defense, I got to admit to you, for 2.5 quarters, I was incredibly impressed and shocked. I'm like, I looked at Deion Jones, I looked at Freeney and Beasley and Jarrett and these boys and the way they were getting at Brady. The secondary is young, and they were going up against the surgeon. If they were going up against anybody other than Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, because I believe Aaron Rodgers has that capability, anybody other than those two, and they beat Aaron Rodgers, so let's not forget that. But if it's not Tom Brady, you're winning the Super Bowl. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I definitely think that the Atlanta Falcons have put the football world on notice that they're coming. This was a devastating loss, but they've been incentivized more so than ever to come out the block next season.
And they weren't winning games by a field goal in the playoffs. Their offense is for real, and their defense was coming around, right? So, you know, can they recover? Of course they can recover. They got the talent to do it, and if their defense gets better, look out. And as they, enter their primes, they should. But will they recover is another story, because there's the rest of the league is. They also got a little fortunate in the playoffs. Green Bay was incredibly banged up by the time they played them. They didn't have to face the Cowboys and the ball control offense, right? And the Cowboys are going to be able to focus on the defensive side of the ball. The league catches on to what you run offensively and imitates. Next year's Raiders can be this year's Falcons, and almost were anyway, right? And look like they have more talent on the defensive side of the ball. I know it's the other conference, but in other words, the league adapts and comes at you. Can they recover? Look, Seattle lost in similarly devastating fashion to the Patriots, a game they should have won. And though they didn't go as far since then, it's not because they were psychologically destroyed. It's because Earl Thomas got hurt, and the offensive line fell apart. It wasn't a psychological destruction of the team. So the Falcons can, and it remains to be seen if they have the kind of wherewithal and character to actually do it.
Yeah, I would say not only can they, I think they will. I mean, you're talking about Dan Quinn, who I have a ton of respect for as a head coach. Matt Ryan's leading the helm at QB. You got a bunch of young players who really gave this game away. I mean, if you look at this, give the Patriots a ton of credit. They hung in there. They battled. Greatest game, that I've watched Super Bowl-wise. It was incredible. I mean, I absolutely thought it was just an intense football game, but they made the errors to keep a team in it. This could have been a rout. I mean, let's.
Who do you blame for that? Is it the players,
situational? It's both. I mean, it's both. So from the 3rd and 1, the strip sack, I would lean that towards Shanahan. But again, at that point, you're trying to be aggressive. You're trying to stay with it. I would have handed it off and then punted it. Okay, so the strip sack goes. The very next series, though, you're inside the 25-yard line. You run it the first time. New England calls a timeout, so you know they're going to use their timeouts. You're going to drain them somehow. Run the ball 2 more times. Dan Quinn. I mean, listen, you're the head coach at that point. Look at him and go, men, we're running it. I don't care if it's checked with me. I don't care if we're trying to audible. I want the ball
12
running.
in the box.
Yeah.
We're going to run.
By the way, he's been on a team that that didn't run it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's not forget managing situations.
How does that happen with Dan Quinn?
Yeah. So,
how does that happen?
So listen, you get caught up in the moment. You're giving your offensive coordinator leeway, and you should. I understand that. But at that moment, everybody said, hey, you can't assume what's going to happen. Maybe Matt Bryant misses it. Maybe there's a lot of maybes in the world.
I got to ask you about that, though, from Dan Quinn's point of view. We had this whole debate yesterday, and I put it mainly on Dan Quinn, because when you're, as a defensive coordinator, when you're helpless and you watch Bevel call a play that you may disagree with, you have to be thinking to yourself, if I'm ever in that position, the very next, 2 seasons, you're in that position, and all you got to do is hand it to the running back twice. You're 99.9% likely to win the game.
You're 11 points up. They're out of timeouts. There's 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You know your defense is gassed. Look, from the third quarter on, really halfway through the third quarter, you saw they were gassed. And we talked about it before. You see how much they've been on the field and how difficult it is to stay with them. You're seeing Brady. You're seeing the momentum change and go the other way. After Julio makes that catch, you got to take advantage of it. All that being said, though, you have a lot of very young players, and they are set up to be very good the next few years. And so, as you're looking at this football team, you're going to lose Shanahan. Obviously, he's in San Fran. You're probably going to lose your quarterback coach. He's going to go to the Rams. So you have all kinds of issues that you're talking about. But you got to stick with the same philosophy, because you've bought into the philosophy. Your offensive line mimics it. Your 2 running backs mimic it. Your receiving core, all of that mimics what you want. You have the players in place. Defense is going to be just fine. This is a first and second year bunch of players. Dan Quinn's going to have these boys right. They're going to get after it. They're going to do it. But I think from a coaching perspective, you walk in and go, men, we let it go. But here's where you got to pull up the bootstraps, men. We got to keep battling, because we are a very good football team, and this could be the start of a dynasty-style team. And I truly believe that. I told somebody a month and a half ago, this may be the deepest offense in total that I've ever seen.
Yep.
That's a
greatest show on turf.
The deepest. Okay, not necessarily the most, but the deepest. You can go to the 4th tight end, still making plays. You can go to the 5th receiver, still making plays. 3rd running back, still making plays. I mean,
they're young. Their quarterback's still young.
They're hungry. I mean,
they have a great coach.
It's unbelievable. Like, the energy around them is just. This could be the one thing you don't want to do is hang your head and go, we can't get back here. Understand, I let this one get away. It was on me, because truthfully, you got to own it. Matt Ryan, you got to throw that ball away. Situational football, the Patriots, the reason they're so successful is they know they're going to thrive in those situations. Players usually, now, have they made mistakes? Absolutely. I've been on teams and taken advantage of it. I love it because it's so rare. But you got to own it and go, you know what? Should have thrown the ball away. You know what? Should have went for it. All those things. But that's player-owned, and once you begin to own it, now you can recover from it. If you just pass it off, that's where you tank it.
One slight thing you didn't bring up.
All right.
We said practically the same thing a year ago about the Carolina Panthers, and they're in the same division. So the thing about that, we have to be careful. I believe in Atlanta, based off of what I've seen, and Carolina never had this offense, and that's fair. But the flip side to it is that they're within the same division. And the fact that they're going to be butting heads with one another, and the last 2 losers of the Super Bowl are in the same division, and you got that brother Cam coming. It's going to be very interesting.
2 other good quarterbacks in that division, too. But other teams aren't as strong.
But they're struggling. Like, if you look at Carolina, from a coaching perspective, they struggle in the defensive backfield. This isn't going to be solved overnight.
But that goes back to your parody comment earlier.
I mean, that doesn't, and they can't score like the Falcons can. The Falcons can. The problem they can put the pedal down, and it makes you play a different style of football. That's what they have to stay consistent in. They can't become something different.
But, Jeff, to Stephen A's point, watching Carolina in the playoffs, what they did to Seattle, et cetera, last year, the size of the athletes.
Man, they were tight
you had
games.
A sense, but you still had a sense they were going to be very good this year.
I loved what they did, but I didn't think they were the same. I thought they were built inside out, which I respect. Defense and offensive line, front 7. I love that. but on the outside, they don't have nearly the explosion.
Atlanta's another level.
Exactly.
For perspective, only 7 times in Super Bowl history has a team lost and returned to the Super Bowl. The last time was 23 years ago, the Bills, and only twice they've actually won the game. So it has happened. But
saying there's a chance.
Every quarter century.
Jeff, thank you for being with us. We appreciate your perspective, as always.